Damon Nahas has been on the pod already this year.
Not that long ago, just a couple months ago.
A few things have changed since then. If I had told you on that day that you sat in here that the next time you come in here, it'll be in just a couple months, and the Tar Heels will be the national champion, and you'll be the head coach, what would you have thought?
Gosh, I mean, you're making me think about this one. With all the process that I went on, I don't know. I thought that the head coaching job would have been earlier. I've said that to Bubba, but that didn't happen. But no, I don't know. I think I was optimistic about it. I think I thought we can do something special. But based on everything that went on throughout the year since last December, there's a lot of things stacked against us. So I don't know. I'm an optimist, and I'm also someone a little bit stubborn and in my ways to think that we would be able to do it. It was about convincing the players that they can do it. So, yeah, I like to say that, we were going to win a national championship. How about that? You should have asked me that. I should have told you that. So, but thankfully it did happen.
So how did this happen? How did this group do this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think getting the right people here was really, really important, right? I mean, for all the things that were stacked against us, from all the change that took place that's been well documented and publicly spoken, and the world knew about it. And in our world of women's soccer, we are the ones that people talk about all the time, for the good or the bad. And so everybody knew our business. And people were really looking forward to us in our demise of the program. And you have so many relationships that I have in the club world and the college world. People that spoke quietly didn't realize that it was coming back to me. And so you start to hear that. But for me, it was, again, the right core people back and the right leadership. And then I knew our freshmen were going to be significant. You were just hoping they were going to be able to make an impact the way they did. I knew their talent, but you just never know how that was going to go. And then picking the right transfer graduates in, and in Claire and Aria and Marissa, who was hurt. We had a lot of really good pieces that came in, and Migley, that we thought were going to help with the culture aspect of things, and they did. And that was a starting point. But it was really a motivated group of young women. I mean, you've spoken to some of them on these podcasts, and they just were determined, wanted to come to work, held each other accountable, wanted to get better, and they trusted the process, and ultimately it led us to a championship.
Carolina women's soccer doesn't get to be the underdog very often, if ever. Roy Williams used to say he thought one of the most powerful weapons you could have as a coach was a talented team who you could persuade that people didn't believe in them. Mm-hmm. How did you utilize that weapon this season, and especially in the postseason?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's not so much underdog. I just think it was more people wanted to see them fail. Right? The underdog, we don't have the right to be able to call ourselves an underdog, right? And that's just based on the history and the success. So I think it was just like, people left because they thought they were greener pastures, right? And you don't do it to prove anyone wrong. I mean, for us, I just asked them to trust it, to come with a really good attitude, just believe in it, give it a chance, want to come every day with a really good attitude, and they did that. And for them, if in the end, the byproduct was proving people wrong, or that underdog, but as the season went on and people started to see them play and perform, and remember, the obstacles wasn't just about 11 players leaving for pro. It was three of our top recruits that went pro early, and then you have 2 seniors in high school coming here, and then you have those that transferred out. There were obstacles also in regards to like losing Darlene, losing Trinity. Olivia Thomas gets hurt. There were more obstacles and every one of our players had to play a role in this, and whatever that took place, and they were all bought into it, and it served us well. So it wasn't so much underdog as it was like, let's prove to ourselves and try and get this back where it needed to be, and they did it.
I don't know you super well, but we've talked a couple of times, but you always seem very steady to me, just kind of very smooth. Did you ever allow yourself a moment to like actually get excited about this?
Yeah. Well, listen, this is the part of the challenge that also I was also going through a process, right? And it was early on the year I thought more about it, and then it was from the midway point where I was like, I'm just done even thinking about it. And it was just like my intention and my energy was geared towards the players and the team. And although everyone else was so involved with the process, like, whatever, fighting for me or wanting me to be there. And what I was trying to do is minimize all of that so that we can just focus on what we're trying to do. And then in the end, if you do it, the rest maybe takes care of itself. So the joy of it Gosh, they really the players made me love coming every day. I honestly to say that. They were enthusiastic. I let them have their personalities, like not try and change who they were. And just, they got everything out of me. They kind of made me better every day. Our staff held us accountable for different ways because regardless of what I thought they can achieve, they were trying to force, they knew what they were still trying to set out to. And as we kept progressing through the season, through the ups and downs, even through some challenging games that we found a way to win, I know the moments where they can feel like, hey, we can do this. And that just kind of served us well before. So enjoying it wise, I'll give you an example of this. So after the game, obviously right after the game, there's a celebration and you were there and there's a lot of joy and a lot of tears and a lot of emotions and just so proud of those that like there were 12 girls that stuck it out and then you have the new ones coming and to see how it integrated. I'd say, and I mentioned this to you as well, is the climate of college sport. This is a story of a championship with all the parity and with all the obstacles against that should be told and shouted out to the sky. And I think that we should document it somehow. But I go to the press conference, right? I'm ready, excited. I saw my family celebrating. There's pictures, all that kind of stuff. And I go to the press conference. By the time I got done with my press conference, I walked back out and everybody's gone. Team's gone. Everyone, there's an empty locker room. And I'm like, wow, this is what a championship feels like. And then I get the FaceTime from the girls, with their families celebrating it. And I really can't even join them. So like, yeah, I felt isolated actually. And so no, I haven't really fully enjoyed it yet.
Couple of solo like fist pumps, maybe.
There were,
for Damon.
yeah, there were. That was it, by myself in the locker room.
I picture a shot from behind, almost like a Breakfast Club shot or something, where you're like walking off with the fist pump in the air.
That's it.
Like, champions.
Someone maybe documented that.
We've talked before on here and throughout this year about how I'm not sure people understand. Yes, Carolina women's soccer has won a national championship, but the climate for a lot of those was very different, and the depth of talent in the sport was just completely different. What's realistic for Carolina women's soccer in this era of college sports and women's soccer? What's realistic?
Yeah, look, the climate has changed. Obviously, there's tremendous parity and resources out there for all the programs. For us, it's about like who we are and what we're trying to do and how we're trying to be. It's not about trying to compete against these other colleges. It's like how do we separate ourselves on the big picture? Because now professional is now realistic, right? So like how do we have our platform here to do it better than everyone else, right? And ultimately, that doesn't always serve us. Like someone could leave after a year, someone could leave after 2 years. You just never know. So, but ultimately, it is their education in a sense that they see it as a livelihood. So we want to be better at it than anyone else. And now they got to be on the highest stage, perform on the highest stage, and now everyone's knocking on the door. Like that's kind of where it is. And really, how they play, how they're inspiring, they've inspired a lot of people. So for me, we have some amazing recruits, in TAP coming in the 25. 26 looks really, really good. And for me, it's speaking out loud about all the opportunities that they have without hiding from it to serve ourselves in a sense that you need to stay here for 4 years, you need to stay here for 5. Like, it's when the moment's right. And our job is to try and accelerate them as human beings. And then obviously they have their academic side that they have to take care of. But it's kind of like the basketball climate a little bit and where it was for years. And we're just trying to navigate those waters and try and do our best to kind of put ourselves as separating from everybody else. And I think we're on a good path to do that.
When you are, and you said a lot of eyes and a lot of opinions on what's happening with North Carolina women's soccer. And you said at some point you had to try and think, you know what, I'm not going to worry about it anymore.
Yeah.
How hard is that, though, when you know, like everybody's got an opinion on me about something, good, bad, is that difficult to block out?
Initially, the opinion, the thing that bothered me, again, Anson retires also 4 days. I mean, we can do a whole. This needs to be documented. You can't make it up. But it was really some of the stuff that we're saying when people find joy in what they think someone's demise is, right? And instead of celebrating Anson and all his accomplishments and what he's done for the game and all that, to see like, oh, we're hopeful that this fails. Whereas if they just really pay attention, that would help them raise the level of their programs. They need this program to do well because it pushes the limits. It tests you to kind of constantly want to be better and better. It's like kind of like a player. You want a player to earn their position, not necessarily get it because of someone's injury, right? And a lot of these programs are hoping that, the demise of a Carolina will give us a chance. No, maybe let's do things better to compete to do it the right way, and then ultimately you get to that level, then you should be able to be competitive with programs like us and others out there. So, yeah, and look, this is one thing too, and I won't name the names, and I won't even name the.
We can name the names. Let's do
I
it.
won't name it, but the guy that wrote a piece on it to talk about the demise of the program, right? That I kept that article, and I kept it because some of the things were, I thought, bad journalism, told the side of the story, and part of my I don't need much motivation. I want to try and be the best at what we have, and I want to do it with this group of young women. But that right there was something that someone was feeling like trying to get their name out there at the demise of, or disrespectfully in a way. And I just want to see that person. Like, I just want to say, I would love him to have the confidence and to work that way back and write an article now on something and retract some of those things, because I think that was something that should never have happened. But ultimately, we're the ones smiling at the end.
One part of the job of head coach is coaching the team, which obviously that was a rousing success. Mm-hmm. Another part is sort of the program at large and wrapping your arms around the alumni and the whole program thing. What are the next steps on that front to make sure everybody's on the same page going forward?
Yeah, I mean, you have like two different sides of the alum, right? You have your alum with this that have generations past, right, and that I never crossed paths with in regards to coaching. And then you have your more immediate, within the last 9 years, that you have this immediate, I'm still staying in close touch with them. And those were really the prominent voices in this whole process, right? Many of them were there at the games, or many of them were watching. And those that, for me, it's always about, when you talk about alum and how they support programs and things like that, I think the number one thing for me to be able to do is if I can uplift and highlight the current players. Because it's just like, someone asked me that question, and I related to, what connects someone that maybe goes through a divorce, right? Children is the connecting piece to keep them connected. And I think this is a very similar thing, whereas I want these players to be highlighted, to be able to unite alum from the 80s to the alum from last year, to make sure that they understand that it's them that should be highlighted, not so much me. Right, I get to be in the position right now, and I just want these girls to be on that final stage to connect with all these pieces, because ultimately they're trying to make these girls, the alum, proud, as I am. But ultimately, these are the girls that are on the stage on that same field, the blood, sweat, and tears. And I think right now, moving forward, I want that connection with them to be the main prominent focal point when it comes to connecting with the alum. And again, the alum have been great. There's so many different things. Some of the alum I don't have as much a relationship with, that I know that we'll continue to do. And moving forward, that's going to be a priority, but it'll take some steps and about some relationships that will be built.
Last thing, at least for me, what are the next steps now? I mean, you win, and that's awesome. And then obviously, there's a very famous basketball story where somebody told Phil Ford the day after a national championship, when he was assistant coach, said, "Hey, looking pretty good next year." And it was like already they were talking about that. So what are the steps now for you as you try to build off this?
Yeah, I think that it's twofold. Like the day after the game, there was a recruit on campus, right? They're already here, right? So that recruiting there's never stops. So there's some recruiting showcases that I have to go to. There's one in St. Louis that I'm just not going to this weekend. I just didn't have it in me. So recruiting is one thing. We have a few players that are coming in mid-year that are gray shirts that'll be here, which is great. And then right now the priority is like our seniors. So for those that are looking at going pro, there's so many different things. There's no draft anymore. So now it's all free agency. So we have some agents who are navigating through. So we're just trying to help them go through the process, as it's kind of uncharted waters because there's no draft. And then you're just dealing with everyone and kind of what's the next step for, I field so many different calls right now from agents and coaches and all that kind of stuff that I'm trying to help navigate it with the players and make sure there's an open dialogue. Because anytime you perform, and now that there's greater opportunities, I want to make sure that I'm aware of them so I can help navigate the process with them. But right now, you just never stop preparing. Have a little bit of time off after the January showcase. I don't know if it's public yet or not, but Kate Fossey is a finalist for the Mac Herman, so she's one of three. So we announced it to the team at 11 o'clock. She didn't know at the time. So I'll go to St. Louis with her for the Mac Herman, and by all accounts, I will publicly state she should be the National Player of the Year, without question.